Hey, 2nd through 5th graders, guess what? It's time for camp! It's gonna be the best week of your life. We're talking about zip lining, blobbing, tons of swimming, and all kinds of other random stuff. The best part is you get to learn more about Jesus throughout the week. It's gonna be awesome. Make sure you sign up today to reserve your spot. See you there. Hey everyone, it is another week of Superfan! Whoop whoop! And this week we are talking about kindness still, which is showing others that they are valuable by how you treat them. Now I grew up bleeding silver because that was my home team's colors. That's how I was able to show them that they are valuable to me, by cheering them on and showing their colors. But then there would always be the blue team. They were our rivals, and they would, cheat and steal and just cheer their own team on and eat broccoli. If I were to see someone on the blue team on the side of the road and they were hurt, well, I'm not sure what I would do exactly. And that sounds a lot like our story today. It's the story of the Good Samaritan. Check it out.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Luke, Chapter 10, verses 25 through 37.
Everywhere Jesus went, crowds of people followed. His popularity made the religious leaders kind of nervous, how he turned their expectations upside down.
What is he up to anyway?
So they began to look for ways to trip him up. One day, a law expert saw his chance to test Jesus.
Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?
Jesus turned the question right back on the law expert. What is written in the law? How do you read it?
Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself.
You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live. But the law expert wanted to discover the very least he could do to obey the law, so he got tricky.
Yes, but really, who is my neighbor?
Jesus looked directly at the law expert and he saw what was in his heart. So Jesus began a story. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Now, if Jesus were to tell this story today, it might go something like this. There's a man that we'll call Ben, who needed to travel from Jerusalem to Jericho. It was a lonely, rugged road, but he was well prepared.
Got my water skin, got my quail jerky, got my snake repellent, got my large number of clinking gold coins.
Stick 'em up!
Uh-oh, forgot my mace.
A band of robbers attacked Ben. They took everything, leaving him half dead by the side of the road.
Help! Please, help me.
There was no one to hear. The sun beat down. Shadows shifted as the day wore on. At last, he heard footsteps. Through shimmering heat, he could barely see a man in khakis and a blue button-down shirt.
In the beginning, let me Google the Greek word for beginning. That'll make me sound more intelligent.
The man was a preacher working on his Sunday sermon.
Help me!
The preacher spotted Ben lying there in the dust, but he immediately looked down at his phone, pretending not to see. Instead, he crossed to the other side of the street, putting as much space between him and Ben as possible.
Please.
But the preacher was gone. Ben's throat was dry now. He could barely swallow. Finally, he saw someone else.
I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul.
A worship leader was now trekking down the road. He wore skinny jeans, an unnecessary scarf, and AirPods.
Help me.
Well, the worship leader definitely saw Ben, but he cranked up the volume on his AirPods and shimmied to the other side of the road as he passed.
I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I'm gonna run away.
As the man's voice faded away, Ben was left in despair. Shadows lengthened as evening approached. Once again, Ben heard someone coming. Turning his head, he could just barely make out a donkey. Perhaps he could tell from the way the person was dressed that this person wasn't a Jew. He was a Samaritan.
Oh no.
Jews and Samaritans were enemies. Even though the two groups were related, there was a history of bitter conflict between them, and the Samaritans worshiped God in a different way than the Jews did. Long story short, a Samaritan would have been the last person Ben would have wished to find him.
What's that by the road?
Instead of ignoring Ben, though, the Samaritan man slowed down and got off his donkey.
Oh no, who did this?
The Samaritan quickly rummaged for supplies in his bag.
Here, have some water. Those are nasty gashes. I've got oil and wine to clean them out.
The Samaritan bandaged Ben's wounds and hefted him onto his own donkey.
Steady. Hey, wrap your arms around his neck, like this.
By the time darkness fell, the Samaritan brought Ben to an inn where the injured man could recover.
Thank you.
In the morning, the Samaritan gave the innkeeper some money.
Please, take care of this man. I'll return and pay you back for any extra expenses.
Goodbye. Thank you.
When Jesus finished the story, no one said a word. He looked directly at the law expert. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The law expert fidgeted. To admit that the Samaritan had acted as a true neighbor was to say that everyone is a neighbor, no matter how different they may be.
I suppose, in this case, one would have to say, the man who had mercy on him.
Go and do likewise. Jesus' story was clear. Love your neighbor as yourself isn't limited to just the people in your neighborhood. Your neighbor means anyone who needs you to show them God's love.
Wow, Jesus made a really good point about who my neighbor is supposed to be. Is it the person next door? Check. Is it my friends at school? Check. Is it the other people at school? Check. Is it the people at church? Check. What about even the people all over the world? Check. So that brings up a really good point. Be kind to people who are different from you. If you think about it, we're all made a little different. We all grew up a little bit different in different homes with different parents, but we should focus on who God made us to be, which is unique and awesome. I guess the one thing that I'm taking away from this is I can be kind to people even if they're on the other team. But how do I do that? Well, I can put myself in their shoes. They, I'm sure, grew up cheering on their home team, and they're unique people too, and they're loved by God like me. Maybe I'll try to start liking some of the things that they like. I may not like their team as much, but that's okay. Broccoli isn't too bad if you really think about it. Maybe I'll start there. All right, that's it for this week. See you guys later. The broccoli's chasing me! No, broccoli, no! Get away from me, broccoli, get away from me!